So, as you can see, these are some of our cards in the game. Some are, for instance, the top row, that's our duelist. And the middle row you have seen, that's the crystal cards. And then a bit later, you get to experience some of the bottom row, which is our vampires. Kelly the vampire, she'll try to drain you, basically damage you, and then heal herself. Okay, that's what a vampire does. So you have a bunch of different fantasy tropes in our game. And then, as I mentioned earlier, each character will have this unique deck. Okay, so it doesn't mean mechanics are never repeated. For instance, if I were to stun you with, let's say, a big cannon, it doesn't mean other characters cannot use that stun attack. Some mechanics, yes, will only be used once and once only. But many, like healing, for instance, very general, like draw a card, that's very general. So it's unreasonable to expect these cards to be used only once in the game. So we can't come up with 300 mechanics for 300 cards. And also, it'll be a pain to remember 300 mechanics. So mechanics can be shared, but cards would not. Okay, so you have a deck for the duelist, Inigo the duelist. He might have this entangle card. That's very fancy. He will try to use his clothes to basically wrap around his opponent's weapon, and that will slow down his opponent. The speed of all the opponent's attacks is reduced by 1 for the rest of the game. Okay, and then it can accumulate. So basically, -1, -2, etc. Now this is very powerful card, but it's only available to Inigo. And then again, the playstyle, not just each individual card, the playstyle is also very different. He will try to feign, basically try to jab at you a little bit with his rapier, and then do a powerful thrust to overcome your defense. And then after you play the game, there are also what we call bonus cards, meaning the deck is a preview deck in the beginning when you buy the character, or when first time you go into a game, you are given a free character that will unlock the character ready to play. Okay, that's 15 cards, all singletons. But as you play the game, then you get to the option to customize your deck, meaning more cards will be available for that character. Currently, the number is 15 plus 5, meaning eventually, if you gain experience for the character, eventually you will unlock all 5 bonus cards, so you have 20 to choose from. Obviously, down the road, releasing even more cards for each character, but right out of the gate, there will be 15 plus 5, meaning 15 default cards, and then as you unlock more cards, then you get to put in your deck. You get to choose. Oh, I don't want so many momentum cards, or I want to be more aggressive. I'll take out all my defensive cards. Well, that's your choice. Okay, so you can customize your deck that way. So right now, in front of me, there's a very interesting card. Apply Death Mark to your opponent. That's Lee's bonus card, Hidden Dragon. So Death Mark is actually a mechanic that's just for this card. Death Mark means first you have to apply it to your opponent, but then the second time a Death Mark hits your opponent, there is a 70% chance he's instantly killed, regardless of HP. Okay, so very powerful card. Our team is enjoying using this card to beat our bosses, which I'll come on to. So single player, whoops. Ooh, yeah. Single player mode right now is Arena. There will be story modes that hopefully introduce more of our game worlds. We'll have a mini quest like telling you guys, oh, because it's very character-centric game, so we'll want to build backstory of the characters. For instance, this Hidden Wind, what's the deal with him? Okay, what's under his mask, for instance? Does he belong to any action in the game world? So we'll gradually build out the game world that way. Okay. There'll be a single fight challenges as well. Perhaps we'll mix things up by applying special conditions to a fight. Okay, that's on the cards. So let me talk a little bit more about the arena, which is our primary fighting mode. The arena have you fight 7 opponents, 7 random opponents to win the trophy. Okay. It is, you can see the silver color and then the gold color and then the final round, which is the boss. The silver colors are, let's call it tier 1 enemies, and then you progress to tier 2 enemies, more powerful enemies. Every time you play the arena is randomized. Currently in the demo it isn't, because it's a demo, but in the full game the opponents will be randomized. Right now we have 20 opponents and 5 bosses for the NPC. Okay? So you have random 5 bosses. Let me warn you, the bosses are not easy. Don't be discouraged if you can't beat the bosses straight away. You might need to learn the pattern. You need to, for instance, I need to keep some cards to defend against some of this powerful moves. But the good thing is that because each card is theoretically counterable, meaning, for instance, Lee has a dodge attack, so it can dodge, if for the right speed, it can dodge any one of the even the most powerful attacks. So there's always a chance to deal with certain problematic cards if you draw the right counter and you keep the right counter in your hand. Okay, so it is a strategy game. So you have to think, oh, your opponent is vulnerable, I should keep this card here, or oh, your opponent is about to go berserk, maybe I should be more defensive. So, and then you have enough card flow, as I showed you earlier. You get to draw a lot of cards, and then you discard one. So you're making choices every round to shape your hand, whether I'm more defensive or more aggressive. And then it's predictable who start the turn first. For instance, turn 7, if I have the initiative, then turn 8, my opponent will have the initiative. That informs me at the end of the turn what sort of card I choose. For instance, if my opponent is nearly dead, and the following turn I get to start first, then it is reasonable for me to discard all my defensive cards and then just go all out. Okay, because if I keep damaging my opponent, I have control. Okay, but there's still a risk, because if at any point that one card doesn't go through, our opponent managed to avoid it, block it, etc., then he has control, and then he can turn the table on me. Okay? So sometimes what you do is a low risk strategy or high risk, high reward strategy, your choice. So this is one of our boss, Petranos, the dragon. So a very traditional Western dragon. We have 4 more bosses in the game that we have not revealed. We will not be revealing them until the final game, because we think it's part of the fun of playing the game, you know, to experience the reveal itself. Okay, but this is one of the bosses that you get to experience. The bosses are actually evenly distributed, one for each class. There's a monster boss, we'll have a warrior boss, and we'll have Gunslinger boss, etc. And then, yes, we will be having multiplayer. there will be rankings, there will be leagues. We are in the middle of designing that. So all these things you get to see against the AI. The AI obviously not as smart as a human being. A human being will bluff. Like for instance, a warrior like Lee, it leaves one action point open. What does that mean? If I then pass, then Crystal will be thinking, oh, is he leaving the action point open because he has a block card? Should I risk attacking because maybe he really needs that attack to go through? So Lee, by bluffing, even if, like in this particular case, he has no defensive option, by leaving an action point open, then Crystal will hesitate to attack because maybe he has a block card. Okay, so all these things in multiplayer game it becomes important. So what sort of card at the end of turn? What sort of card your opponent will be putting back into his hand? If I'm paying attention, oh, he's putting that card into his hand, so I need to be careful. So I'll be watching out to defend against that card. So all these things will make much more sense in multiplayer. You have not seen a spell being cast yet, so I know that, but we'll go back into the demo and show you a spell slinger in action a little bit. Okay, so. Okay, right. So I have a bunch of questions. Yeah, I see a technical see a question regarding RAM usage. At its current stage, we have not. It's not the stage where we are optimizing the game yet, okay? Because there's still some contents we are implementing into the game. So forgive the disappointment because we're still at the end of the feature implementation. We are very close to a feature lock. After that, then we'll be devoting full time to optimize the game and for balancing. Okay, so currently, for instance, I have heard feedback regarding the demo, like, oh, the turn is too powerful. Perhaps we have been paying attention to it. We might tone it down as we get closer to do even more balancing. But thank you for the